All right, ladies and gents, we're not going to keep you waiting 1 minute longer. The time has come for the gavel to be dropped by the Grader'S themselves at Grader'S Notes. Dun, dun, dun. New edition, new episode, same old crew, bringing you those hot takes, ladies and gentlemen. I can already see a fantastic chat accumulating. But without further ado, let's get the team on the court, if you will. Coming in hot first. He's one of the few that's being spared this winter wrath that a lot of folks are feeling, because he is now relocated to sunny Florida. Maybe not so sunny today, right, Roger?
Yeah, not so sunny today. Thanks for all the but let me tell you, I'll take it, buddy. 70-some degrees today. Thank you for that intro. Man, it's great to be back. It's like, has it been 2 weeks? It feels like it's been a month to me. So great to be back with
me, because I missed.
So you missed it. Yeah, you were.
I've been so looking forward to this.
I know you missed it. We missed you a lot, buddy. You know, it's like the three-way just is not. It's weird. You know, when we've been doing this so many years now. And there's 3 guys up there. It was just weird. It was good, but it's still weird.
Very excited to get into the action. And next up, we were worried there for a second. We thought it might be another Three Amigos episode, because one of our friends was subject to that winter wrath that I just mentioned. But you know what? This guy perseveres. He makes it happen. He MacGyvers. He fixed his heat and his power with nothing but a paper clip and a stick of chewing gum, brother. We're talking Genome Presents.
Actually, cobbled together a mini flamethrower with Aquanet and a lighter and was burning off my front porch right now, and all that snow that accumulated.
What do you do with Aquanet in the house, Gino?
Well, something like my coif to get nice and bouffantish. So sometimes I use it for that.
That was from his old mullet days,
Yeah.
It was pristine and mighty, I'm going to say right now. Samson didn't have nothing on me.
And lastly, the man on the panel who's scoffs at everyone with their winter complaints. He's like, "You think you know cold, brother? You punks, you only got 6, 8 inches, 10 inches. Are you kidding me?" We're talking about the man who hails from the great north, chiseled, grizzled, and ready for action.
For schnizzled.
Mr. Miracle.
Hello, everybody. Oh, yeah, it has been one bitch of the last 2 weeks in terms of cold. All that winter wrath centered right here over top of Alberta. Serious, man. We set a temperature record, the longest sustained low temperature in a row, 12 days below. What would it be in Fahrenheit? Below -30? I mean, we were having wind chills below -40. It was brutal. Today we finally got above the freezing mark. Hooray! It feels like 80 degrees outside. This has been so cold. But what the fuck else do I expect, right? I'm living on the prairies in Canada.
Yeah.
Wake up. If that's not what I want, I'd move to Florida. I'd be like, Roger, I'll just pitch a tent in your backyard. Good enough, man.
Plenty of room. I'm on 5 acres here. Plenty of room. Bring the whole family.
Yeah, excited about today's issue. I think it was a great pick of yours, Kenny.
It was a good pick.
Spider-Man 101.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought this would be a fun one. Somewhat topical, a classic.
There's a movie coming out eventually sometime. I guess it's filmed. It's all done.
We've all got a floppy copy of some kind, whether all I think of different types. That looks like the original there in your hands there, Miracle.
No, that's a reprint.
That's a $3.99 there.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Oh, I was
expensive for kids back then.
There's a facsimile too then.
There's the original.
There's the
real deal. Right.
Nice.
And then I also have this bad boy, the silver reprint from the 90s.
Nice.
Yeah, I've always liked Morbius. I mean, this book is in not great shape, but I know I only paid a couple of bucks for it at a flea market a long time ago. So I did pick up a reading the facsimile reader's copy, so that's cool.
Yeah, facsimiles are great. What are you working with the True Believer there, Gino?
Yep.
Beautiful.
I certainly am.
And Roger, I think you also had that beautiful silver second reprint.
There it is. Nice.
Awesome.
Reminds me of the Captain Liberty cover that Marvel did back then too. They had the same silver like embossment on there.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Yeah, the second prints were a lot of them were silver themed.
they did a few silvers, right? Like they did that Amazing Spider-Man 265 or 64 with the first silver fox or whatever.
They did 361, the first Carnage, 363, right?
Yeah.
And they did a Hulk. They did a Captain America. Various.
Yeah,
I'm actually going to do a video on that in the future about all the different second prints.
Well, I look forward to that because I'm curious of why they decided to pick these particular issues and silver reprint them.
Yeah, some are pretty mystifying to me, but others make sense.
Yeah, some were like first appearances and stuff. It kind of makes sense.
What year was that? What year was that 90s one?
92, I think.
Because I think
must be.
That probably came around after Maximum Carnage came around, and he was kind of featured
September
in a little
92.
bit, I think. So
yeah.
maybe there was some new draw. I know Marvel had a card of him, I think in the second edition too. So I think he was starting his stock was on the rise a little bit for whatever reason. So.
Right. When did his original series start? Because he had a series also, Morbius.
Oh yeah, but I don't think that started till like
that was a little later, right?
Later, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
90s even.
Yeah, the Silver Fox 265. That's right. Jackson Roy Kirk. That's correct.
Oh yeah. Speaking of Jackson Roy Kirk, I'm just gonna take some quick attendance and say hello to the fantastic chat that joins us. Ruben Guzman, first man in the chat. Cowabunga to you,
Ruben.
Mr. Guzman.
Magic Lasso is gonna open up some PB M&Ms and enjoy the show. All right.
You and ET both, baby.
Lasso, who has just been electrifying the scene lately with his great WandaVision reviews. Yep. He was on Comic Books NYC's original Hour, which
nice.
I still haven't had a chance to catch that yet, but I know he has some fantastic Wonder Woman pages. So that's on the docket. My man, A-Ron, who I like his profile picture more and more every time I see it, of him in the 3D realm.
Right before he takes the red or blue pill, right there. Yep.
Yeah. Jackson Roy Kirk, really a stalwart of the Grader'S Notes show, a great commenter, definitely fits the bill for the chat all-star moniker that we dub on folks. That's Jackson.
I dub thee.
Yep. He lights up a chat, adds value to every chat that he's in. My man DJ Lynx is in the house.
Nice.
I want to make sure you check him out. I know he's on
I don't know if I'm subbed to him. I don't think I am. I want to remedy that right now.
Well, that's because you didn't see the roundup because he's having a contest.
Yeah, I actually didn't catch it today.
I'm just messing with you.
I was busy scooping snow.
Scooping snow. Well, what an excuse that is.
Yeah. Keep our boy DJ Lynx in mind because I think we're on a little sub push for him. Let's pump up some subscribers.
He's over 900.
Yeah, I'll stick him in there. Him in there.
He's always paying that forward to other members of the community. So
absolutely
hook up our boy DJ. Here he is. Another Grader'S Notes stalwart. Super Russ. 9,000.
Super Russ.
The Super One.
Russ is doing a video every day. A very brave man right there.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work, Russ.
Yeah, admire your constitution.
Yeah, a lot of work.
The man who wields the hammer, Better Ray Jim, who has one of the better omnibus collections and comic rooms really around.
Oh, yeah.
Good to see you, Jim. BTC Moon Guys in the place to be. Great to see you, man. Free Key Louie. He lives up to his name. He's always doling out free keys, free comics on a lot of very giveaway minded guys.
Every Friday.
Every Friday, man. He'll hook you up.
A key every Friday.
He'll hook you right up. Mr. Mastodon. Purveyor of comic book and rock and roll album review content. always want to check him out. The living legend, YouTube is 90. Always great when we see him come out of the bleachers and join the party. The Hawkeye, Zach B. Fantastic seeing my boy Hawkeye in the place, as is aggressively relaxing. The indie punk band of the YouTube channel community, in my humble opinion. And lastly, Metarog, who's or Mr. Garrel rather, who's just star-studded by Metarog's presence.
It's a running joke at this point.
Yeah, I know. And speaking of royalty and fame, it's Bill Miller, the Comic Mag Musings, the it guy of the community. Some say.
There you go.
Okay, I've yapped enough, gang. This is Grader'S Notes. We're breaking it down as we do. Cover, interior art, the writing and story, and the concept is all going to get a grade 1 through 5. We're going to give it an overall grade as well. We're going to hit you up, the chat, to weigh in and provide your grade as well for the all-important chat grade that we all secretly hope matches on. Hello, Kachung. Good to see you, buddy. And without further ado,
No, wait. One more ado.
One more ado.
One more very important ado.
One more ado. So I found this at my LCS. Blank
That's right.
Morbius. Right. So I figured we haven't done a giveaway for a while. So what I'll do, I will do a sketch cover on here and give it away to somebody. I won't do the sketch cover now. I think I could do better than just do it real quick. But I will do a sketch cover on here and send it to somebody. At one point in the show, I will ask a question about something that happened in today's show, and the first person that gives me that answer, if they DM me a mailing address, I'll send it to them.
Ooh, Nelly.
Ooh,
I like it. I like that.
bonus.
This is the year of giving for him.
I tell you.
He's an original art giveaway, a first on Grader'S Notes. And if you've been watching at least the last handful of episodes, you know what he can do during the duration of a show. Never mind when he sits down.
I'll have to do a landscape for somebody here.
That's awesome.
That'd be a genome key right there.
Oh yeah.
And of course, at the end of the show, we're gonna Rogers up on putting forth the next program's book. We have 2 choices we've narrowed it down to, and we rely on you, the chat, to choose what you want to see. We please the people. Okay, now, enough. Time for the main event. What we've come here to do. Dissect these books. And we generally like to start right where the book starts, on the cover. And you know what? I'm going to say the last guy in is going to be the first guy up. Miracle, who, like Roger said, he's the kid that's always late to class, huffing and puffing with his backpack, half on, half off. But he always brings the thunder on his review. What do you think of the cover of ASM 100, my friend Miracle?
101. Okay.
Bam.
There is our cover. That's these are really nice reprints, right? It's very close to the original cover. Obviously, the price is different, right? What did I think of this cover? Jill Kane, comic book legend, right? Drew this cover, and I know designed this character, right? So I like that, right? That this is Jill Kane's original design character. The Forearm Spider-Man, awesome. How cool is that? And what a good choice of poses for that Spider-Man, in that sort of backwards things. Really helps to because trying to make the 6 arms look proper in that kind of perspective is really, really hard from a front on. So it's a really smart choice of Jill to do that. But still see them all. Still seems exciting. There's lots of action in here. The blue moon and everything in the background is cool. He has nice backgrounds in it. Jill or Gil. I can't accuse the guy of being overly lazy with his backgrounds. I mean, he's not a Kirby, but he's certainly, he's not a McFarlane either with nothing all the time. I like his art. I've always liked his art. Like was a comic book legend. Unfortunately, Mr. Kane has passed, and that's not even his real name. I found out. I was kind of looking him up just a little bit, and his real name is Eli Katz. How weird is that? I never knew that until today.
What was his name?
Eli Katz.
Eli.
But Eli and then Katz, Katz.
Huh.
I'm like, that's a cooler name than
that's pretty cool.
Phil Kane.
If I could choose a name, I don't think I'd choose Gil.
No, I guess he was trying to hide, just like Stan Lee, he was trying to hide that he had some sort of ethnic background, right? Kind of, it's a sad sort of thing, but a lot of them did that, right? Like Stan Lee is really Stanley Leibowitz or whatever, right?
Lieber.
Lieberman?
Lieber, just Lieber.
Or is it Lieber? Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, obviously,
I thought he was a Cancer, not a Libra. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, funny. Anyway, I think he's made some really smart choices here. I think really cool. If you a lot of this book is going to appeal to you, right? That vampire is cool. Seeing that vampire on there, obviously getting the one up on Spider-Man. If you weren't familiar with what happened last month, you might be wondering, why does Spider-Man have 4 arms? That's going to bring you in. The perspective is good. I like that they put the treatment, the treatment into the picture. A lot of times you'll get Amazing Spider-Man kind of outlined and more separated from it. When it says still 15 cents, right? It always makes me nervous when it says still $3.99, because usually when they say still, I mean it means that it's pretty soon it's not going to be, right? It's going to be pricier.
That's
so
right.
That was it. I was looking on the shelves on my spinner rack at my local corner store in 1971. I'd be like, oh no, we're gonna end up paying 20 cents a comic soon, and which was true. I like the cover. I thought everything worked well. I thought it gave a real sense of foreboding. I like the perspective he's got on this. It tells a lot of what's going to happen in the story without telling a lot of what's going to happen in the story. So good on you, Gil, or Eli, as it were. And I gave your cover, look at my note, a 4. I liked it. 4.
Very nice. A strong 4.
Morbius' pimp hand is strong. He's laying that goon hand down, man. Look at him go.
Right. Great breakdown.
Nice
Mr.
job.
Gino, who has the cover right behind him.
I actually have it.
Reverse.
We're going to show this one. Let's see if the green screen doesn't take it out too badly, but it kind of makes it look a little strange. I can actually share the
Looks like
screen.
an acetate cover, like that.
Yeah, that's true.
See-through cover.
Okay, so the monster called Morbius. Notice the font kind of here is almost like the old Creature Feature movies, which was I think a really nice touch. I'm gonna have a lot of cool things to say about Gil inside. Suffice it to say that I do enjoy this cover, and it's a technical marvel if you really think about it. There's a thing in movies they do when something is supposed to be unsettling to the audience, they'll tilt the camera a few degrees, right? So everything's just a little bit off, right? And that gives you this sense of foreboding. And he does the same thing here with the background. Everything is just a little bit skewed, which is a really nice touch. So you can see it's not just a straight on shot of the window in the background. He's actually got it at a nice little angle here. Same with the staircase and all that. Just the amount of work that went into articulating all of Spidey's extra limbs here is really incredible. Every arm here is worthy of its own character, and now he's got 6 of them. So it just looks amazing. Everyone has a different pose. It's not just static. Most of them have knuckles and all those nice little details. If you notice Spidey's leg is bent out from under him, meaning he took a real shot, right? It's a believable physics shot from it. And like he said, there's the nice pimp hand friggin' taking it to school. I guess Spidey didn't earn his money that night on the boardwalk, but this is kind of interesting here. I don't know if that's like a spell cast kind of thing, but it's interesting. It looks like the Puppet Master or something. That was odd, but it looks good. Character looks pretty interesting and cool. He's vibrant, stands out. Kind of suave too, with the Rico Suave kind of open neckline there. It's nice. Just good. Only thing I was kind of knocking this for just a tiny bit is the blue moon's kind of cool, as like it's a rare occurrence, right? But there's no like pock marks or nothing on the moon, so maybe just a little more detail on the moon would have been nice. But really, I like this a lot, and it's actually kind of close perspective, which is also kind of cool. So I kind of went the same score over here with Dave. I gave it a 4. A lot of good stuff going on. It's deceptively simple, or deceptively good at the same time. It's a lot of talent, though. One of the other knocks I did have is he seemed to add some extra musculature around the torso of Morbius here that just seems a little bit off, but everything else looks so good. Good shading. I like the way his arm is twisted here. Sorry, other side. It just, I don't know, it all looks believable. He's got the brachials right here in the wrist. So really amazing attention to detail. I gave it a 4. If it had been a little bit farther back, I might have liked it more, so you get more of the mansion or whatever in there, but I dug it. 4, great cover.
Only one show is going to bring you analysis down to the depiction of the brachials, my friends. Only here on Grader'S Notes and only Gino brings you that kind of content. But
amazing.
He will.
The review that shall live forth in infamy.
Well, I agree. I mean, superheroes or beings of any kind should be muscular. That's part of being in a comic.
I agree.
Great.
And speaking of strong, muscular, the one and only Metarod, what say you on this cover, sir?
I used to be, pretty buff. Now I'm very kind of frumpy. But anyway, these two guys, I think, hit it on the nose. Man, I was talking to Kenny beforehand, and I wish that I had seen this on the rack. I unfortunately, I started a few years after this, but man, this is a good cover. One of those, what does a cover have to do, right? I mean, it has to catch your eye. It has to sell the rest of the comic, because you're not gonna, if you're a newsstand and you're reading the whole comic, you're gonna get a dirty look, from the newsstand vendor. So you have a few seconds to decide, right? And this, to see Spider-Man with 4 additional arms, and this character that looks kind of disco-ish in a sense, right? But backhand slap Spider-Man and him falling down, by the banister there of a staircase. And, notice the subtle homages here to Gothic, with the large picturesque window, the moon in the background. Genome is right. I wish it had a little more, some craters or something, a little more detail. And I think the original had the staircase and the window kind of white, again, to accentuate the two central characters in the middle, because they have the same color scheme. So, really your eyes are just gravitated to this event right here, and including this impact mark with the trail behind it, where you can see where the arc of the right hands came and the back hit his cheek or his jaw and continued over here. And yeah, I think Genome hit it. This is kind of like a tribute to like Bela Lugosi's, when he would hypnotically talk to his victims and lure them in. There's a lot of little subtle hints inside and on the cover to what this is a portent is, and that I'm going to talk about that more in the concept, because you couldn't really see vampires on comics before this, but you see it very clearly that on the word balloon it says vampire. So if you're a creature feature fan, or a vampire fan, Universal Monster fan, and you see this, you're buying this cover. Gil Kane did an amazing job here. Great detail, great striations here on the musculature. And, Genome said here, great shading on the arms there. Each one is very separate from, in other words, they're not cookie cutter poses or anything like that. And again, that nice little angle, that upward, reverse isometric angle here, just really good. It just sort of, it gives you that vibe of mystery and of of intrigue and, of course, of supernatural, although that's really not what's going on here, but it gives you that aura of it. I almost went higher than you guys, but again, yeah, the moon, I think, was a little bit, could have been a little more details in it. And again, I wish that the white thing would have been just a little bit more realistic, just because I get what he was trying to do, but I think to me, I like the realistic look rather than trying to frame something for us to watch. I think that will stand on its own regardless. So yeah, 4 all the way for me.
All right.
Very nice. So a three-peat, man. Three in a row. 4.
We'll break the chain.
Indeed. Great additions to the chat during this round. Ben Compton, Tim the Collector, Rock City, the Gray Man, one of the original Avengers here on Grader'S Notes.
How now, brown cow?
Good to see you guys. All right. These gentlemen, of course, really covered the bases across the board. I'm going to echo a lot of sentiments of the tilting of the camera angle, that little dramatic shift. I think it really adds a lot of flair to it, drama to the scene. I love the setting of this. Morbius looks so strong and commanding in this. He's standing at the top of a staircase. It looks like, a Dracula's mansion, very Victorian with the tall staircase, and just slapping down the foe while standing triumphantly at the top of the staircase. The pose is fantastic. His hands look awesome. That kind of, that little claw action there adds, can't even hit the vocabulary on what that means, but I feel it. It evokes an emotion of like one of these sinister vampire types, and the chat has been definitely making note of the strong pimp hand. It's just it looks like such a powerful slap. He really conveyed it really well. I love that. Spider-Man looks tremendous. To just throw that at you on the cover, this might lean a little bit into concept, but ASM 100, if you guys remember, kind of that classic black cover with Spider-Man crawling down. He only had 2 arms, and you look at issue 101. What the heck? They threw him right on the cover with the 6 arms. It's eye-catching. It's like, what's that about? And I imagine it's tough to draw characters with that many arms and make it seem and not look weird. I've seen characters with multiple arms that sometimes you can tell you can't make sense of where it connects on the body. They just draw a bunch of arms, but he pulls it off where he's got all the different arms in nice positions. All the hands are done really well. It's like a very technically proficient artist on our hands here with Gil Kane. Or as Miracle says, Jill. He misgenders him, brother. The big glass window, tall glass window adds a lot of, I think, also drama to the scene. Now, I don't have many critiques, but the moon is one. No detail whatsoever, no clouds in front of it, or even if it is just a full moon night, I think you make it yellow, man. I think you make it orange, white, even maybe with some texture. The blue moon looks odd to me. It's just a solid light blue sphere. Missed opportunity that in this scene here, in the window, in the back, a nice detailed ominous moon. That blue sphere doesn't do it for me. But man, there isn't a whole lot else I'm going to critique. Eye-catching, does the job of a cover. You walk by this thing, how are you not going to grab it? Man, I'm going to go with what I wrote because I was almost like, is this a 4 or 5? I'm going to say it's a 4, though. It's a 4 cover. Let's sweep it with a 4. I agree. ASM 101, great cover.
Wow.
Yeah.
All in agreement. This is a seminal night right there. Wow.
Yeah, we don't have to do that.
Now, chat. What say you? We were all pretty much on the same page. Is the chat on the same page? How does the chat feel about this cover? Are we drooling over it too much? Are we not giving it its due? Should it be a 4.5? Is it a 5? We're going to prompt the chat right now to grade this cover.
You know, you brought up a great point there. I didn't think about that, Kenny. Very big missed opportunity with the clouds. The thin scuds of clouds up there would definitely have been a very horror gothic kind of feel. Yeah, that was an excellent point. Maybe even a bat back there somewhere if you really would get modeling, you know.
Yeah, he had the window.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he had the long picturesque window on the side, and he had the ambiance. But he could have put some cratering or like you said, wispy clouds, just to give it a little more of that monster mystery kind of vibe.
Yeah,
right. Because a night sky setting is so synonymous with horror art, and to have such a big window there, it's almost like it's a layup where it's like you think you would take advantage of that, but
yeah.
Your smack effect is yellow on the silver print. Did I see that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. They did some real doctoring, didn't they?
In blue,
and the text here is red, not yellow here.
So they could have added like yellow to that moon on that for the silver.
They could have, they could have. But here it really you can't even tell there's a moon because it's all silver.
Yeah, it's gone.
Oh, that's pretty lame.
Yeah,
Actually,
I like this cover and color is better.
Yeah.
Gives you that more about
All that white in the back. This looks unfinished on the original. It just doesn't.
And the original
doesn't do justice.
Yeah, I don't know whose idea that was an editorial thing, but I doubt that was the way that originally was supposed to happen. It just didn't make sense to me.
just letting you know it's a reprint. Probably got a deal on gray ink that month.
A deal on gray, yeah.
That's cool that we all came in so close. I mean, basically, we all had the same tiny little nitpicks with it, but that must have been a bear doing Spidey's pose like that and getting the arms like that. I just
yeah. Hey, that was a lot of work there. I mean, a lot of work like for a cover. Yeah, but Gil Kane put a lot of effort into his covers.
I wonder if he drew like the bottom set of arms first and then kept building up forward like they do in painting. I don't know.
Yeah, he'd been doing comics for a long time. But he's quite a practiced illustrator. But it doesn't matter how practiced you are. That's weird. That's a weird thing to draw.
Mm-hmm.
It's very awkward.
And none of us mentioned either. It's like, I think just walking by the newsstand make you want to pick that issue up, even without Morbius. It's like, why does Spider-Man have 6 arms?
Yeah,
that just looks odd as itself. And they're very smart. They didn't build a uniform around it. They left them bare. Yeah, which was cool too.
Yeah, they build the intrigue. They knew how to build intrigue for sure.
All right, so I think we've got our grades in here. Do you, Gino? Did you get a chance to pop those in, or would you like me to put them into my abacus here?
I got it right here. Give me 1 second.
Okay. What's up, Funk Comics? Good to see you.
Hey, Funk.
Comes in at 4.5. Chat comes in with a 4.5. They went above and beyond us.
Wow.
Nice. I'm not too shocked by that.
The lowest score I saw was a 3. Yeah.
Well said, Sleepy. It's such a satisfying cover. That's a good way to say it.
Yeah. And
are you sure, Gino? Are you sure about that? It doesn't look like a 4.5 to me.
So there, 5.
See, I got a 4, 4, 5, 4, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 4, 5, and a 4. So divide all that by 46, divide by 11 is what it came out. So
okay. All right.
I trust my calculator, hopefully, unless I missed one in there.
I trusted
No, it's not that I don't trust him. It didn't look like it, because it was only 1 5 and there was a 3. So
there's a couple of bad outliers there, but
are we dropping the top and the bottom? And
basically, we're just going for the mean.
Man Cave's coming in to try and skew our grade lower.
Mode. It's too late. We've already graded now, Man Cave.
Good to see you, man. Sorry,
catch you on the next one.
Yeah,
I don't have any problem with the 4.5, none whatsoever. That's a reasonable grade in my estimation.
It's just one of those. It's deceptively technical covers too. It looks cool, but just because it looks cool doesn't mean it's well done. And this one is just well done. And it wasn't even heavily inked either, which was kind of a nice thing.
Correct.
So I mentioned that wasn't too bright, but yeah.
And the figures are nice and big too. They're not, sometimes you get like these little fighting actions in the corners and things. These are right front and center, nice, big, detailed figures. Well done.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Good perspective. Good.
Let's keep the clock, keep us going counter clockwise here with Mr. Genome.
Ooh.
And Genome, I'm going to let you call it, man. Should we continue on this Gil Kane art on the inside, or would you like to pivot to the story? What do you think, man?
Let's bounce around. Let's do story.
All right. We're gonna
as much as I want to talk about the art, because I'm pretty jazzed about talking about the art too, but let's break things up a little bit, right? So the story. Let's talk about the story. This is how you write a comic book, boys and girls. It's obviously you missed something in the previous issue and miss something if you're not reading the next one. So that's a good way to bookend things, right? But it's almost a self-contained story, except for the cliffhanger at the very end. So lots of good stuff going on in this book. I mean, first off, it starts off with an incredible premise, right? You got Spider-Man is looking down dejectedly in his hands at 6 arms. I've got 6 arms now. What do I do? He is freaking out. And as many people know in the community, I am not a Spider-Man guy. I've never really liked the character that much, but I really feel for Spider-Man in this one because he's trying to combat like what's going on to him with his humor, and it's just not working that well. And he's starting to alienate people. He's got to run away and hide. And think about it. I mean, not only would your secret be out, you'd be a complete freak in society. At least it's Spider-Man, like now, as long as his uniform's on, no one can tell, but he can't walk around with 6 arms and have someone not tell what's going on with this guy, right? So brilliant premise to open the book with. And then you shoehorn in like Dracula Retold with Morbius on a cruise ship or like a big tugboat, whatever that ship was, right? And, the crew is slowly dying around after this mysterious stranger they picked out of the ocean. Another brilliant idea. So basically you got 2 ships meeting in the night, right? And they actually do at this gigantic mansion. And they bring another old Spidey freaking villain in there. One of my favorite of all time. It's perfectly done almost completely. There's a little bit of wonky dialogue, but some of that's just time specific, really, honestly, how they write it. I freaking love the story. It moves. Doesn't waste time. Yes, there's a lot of introspection from Peter, but usually it's on his way to do something. He doesn't mope around his apartment for 5 or 6 pages. 2 or 3 pages, and he's out. He's moving. That's how you write a good story. And man, I don't know what else I can say about that. How good it was, but Roy Thomas. I mean, what do you expect? A man can write. So I give this a 4.5. I don't know why. I just want to read this book again. I really want to read the next one because it's satisfying conclusion. We found a guy who can beat Spider-Man, not only regular Spider-Man, but Spider-Man with 6 arms. So pretty amazing. But we even see Spider-Man have trouble web slinging, right? They even built that much detail in there because he's not used to the extra arms and they're kind of flailing wildly around and is screwing up his balance and his equilibrium. It's just awesome. And it makes you it made me think, what would I do if I woke up in the morning with 6 arms? Not too many comic books make you like correlate what happened to you in real life if that certain thing happened. I don't know if anyone's going to mention working Kurt Connors in there. I won't mention the villain's name if you don't know, but it was a perfect idea because everyone knows that Kurt's left arm or whatever has been gone for a long time. It's what caused him to become the unnamed bad guy in the future. So another brilliant idea. Just everything made sense. Kurt had this research laboratory over in Long Island or whatever it was that he hasn't been into a while. It's secluded. It's perfectly what Spider-Man needed. Convenient, yes. And the fact that Morbius washes up in that same place for the confrontation is also convenient, whatever. I mean, convenience is a normal plot device in comics, movies, and books. So great book. This book just moves. This is Comic Writing 101. I gave it a 4.5. Brilliant. It's really close to being 5.
Boom. 4.5. High praises from Dino.
Yeah, I never thought you'd give that to a Spidey book.
Yeah.
I tried to be objective, boys. I tried to. I like the Spidey in peril, like mentally, not just physically. That was a nice touch. And I like to see how he dealt with it, which was kind of interesting.
Nice.
All right. Let's continue around the panel. Are we due for a unanimous vote on the story round, as we were with the cover? We'll see. You're up, man, Rob.
Okay. Yeah, interesting story. Now, I read this a while back, probably back in the 90s when I got this reprint. And I always thought that interesting that Stan Lee had written Spider-Man up to this point, and then this storyline comes in and Roy Thomas takes over. Stan Lee had a couple characters he really held close to, and Fantastic Four and Spider-Man were two of them. So I found it interesting that Roy Thomas took this one, especially since I don't think he's a big Spider-Man fan. And that kind of comes across here. Genome liked it, but there are these long self-deprecating soliloquies here, and it's something that I have a problem with sometimes, because he's talking to himself for like the first quarter of this book. Instead of thinking or maybe an exclamation, it's all kind of introspective self-talk. And, I think that's kind of unrealistic to that extent. Some of us, when we have some stressful situations, certainly we can, talk out loud, and certainly having 4 additional appendages is a high stress type of happenings, right? Of event. But I think it goes a little bit too over the top. Now, Roy Thomas does this a lot too. He does a lot of topical and time period references. David Fry, which was an impressionist, and when he's talking to J. Jonah Jameson, and he's saying he's Sergeant O'Malley, and Gwen, sort of, the liberated woman, asking him out to an R-rated film, which was very controversial and risque back then. All these little nuances, I think, are cool. Although if you're a parent and your kid is reading this, you may have some issue with that. But I'm not taking anything off for that. I think that the cultural references here are cool, because even if you don't know the exact date of when this is, you can sort of say, well, this is early 70s just from those references. The angst angle on Spider-Man really just gets to me at some point, just gets old to me. And here he just goes on and on and on. I realize what Genome was saying, that, the mental anguish that he's going through, because, he doesn't know this could be permanent. And the reason he took the potion was to get rid of his power, because he didn't think he could have a relationship with Gwen while he was actually had the spider powers, which, I mean, you have to question that itself. But regardless, that was the case. And again, this almost reads like 2 different comics. The dealing with the issue with the arms, and then Morbius comes in, and like Genome says, just like, if you've read Bram Stoker's Dracula, just like it comes in on a ship at night and the whole bit. And there's a few over the toppy things here, like he actually kills the whole crew, in one night, and then he says, "Oh, my thirst is assuaged." I don't think he needs to kill like 20 guys for his thirst to be assuaged. A few will do. And they hunt him down, and then they don't find him, so they're like, we'll go to bed. He's probably overboard, That seems a little bit dicey. You would think you would keep a few guys around to, just in case, right? Because this is a guy that they had, and 10 of them, and he just pushed them off. So he's a threat. I wouldn't have just brushed that off. That seems a little bit unrealistic. There are some continuity issues, which I'm going to talk about with the art, I think, rather than with the story. But let me put it this way. It's hard to get thrown down from a basement. Okay. But honestly, everything else, it kind of makes sense. Kurt Connors being a scientist, and him having a home where Peter Parker can try to figure out how to reverse the effects. That kind of makes sense. And of course, it was by the sea, so Morbius took refuge in. Well, I'll tell you what that is in a bit. And then, of course, we have the serial cliffhanger at the end, which is very impactful. So, again, good story, tightly plotted, I think, with some little, stretches of of logic here and there. I didn't quite like it as much as Gino, but I still think this was a really good story for the time. Much better than some of the Drek I used to, read and say, it's pretty good. It did have a lot of little nuances and sort of homages to Frankenstein and Dracula, even a Batman reference in here for you DC guys. So a lot of cool little tidbits in here, but but not the most tightly coherent, beautifully straightforward story. Although it did have a lot of little treasures inside. So I give it a 3.5. I thought that it was definitely much better than average.
All right. 3.5 from Roger. Let's keep the party going. Boom. I made note of the same thing that Roger did in the first chunk of this book. I found Peter's incessant yapping to get a little tedious on the front end of the book. And also something that I've mentioned on the show before of sometimes I feel like writers don't always have a good grasp on when to use word balloons and when to use thought bubbles, because they often make characters seem like maniacs in how much they verbally are speaking to themselves. And that's totally the vibe that we get from Peter here. He seems like he's just a chatty Cathy, and I guess nerves or something, but he's being real jokey. He's being way too, witty and clever and jokey if he's self-monologuing. Usually you do that when you're talking to someone else, So I found that part to be, it was like kind of 9 pages until the Morbius introduction. So it's 9 pages of him finding that he has the arms, and granted you have to, establish that. And he does check in with a couple people, but for the most part, he's really talking to himself. So I wasn't totally thrilled on that, but I do think that tying in Dr. Kurt Connors into the equation was really cool. Like, this is structurally a sound story. Even though the front end, I feel like there's a little fat that could have been trimmed on his self-talk, but I like that he gets in this jam and he thinks to get in touch with Kurt Connors, a tenuous, damn it, that's not a line. Tenuous friendship, which those are always fun to write. So that was cool. I like that that's where his destination is. But once we get through that and we get to the introduction of Morbius, I feel like story-wise, the book really kicks into high gear. I loved the Morbius introduction, in the bottom of a shipping vessel. I liked on this panel, I like that his first, one of his first words is, "I don't want to hurt you." And it looks like sincere the way they portrayed his face. And I thought that was a cool way. I like when, the bad guys are not cut and dry, I want to take over the world villains, but, there's some humanity to them. And I thought that set the tone well for this guy. I don't want to hurt you. I like when vampires are written as it almost being like an affliction. He seems to revel in it. I don't think he's not too like in tragedy over the whole thing, but I do like when, it's something out of their control. And I feel like that they kind of set the tone for that. He handles the crew. And, as far as how he stumbles across, the house, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do to get your characters to meet up. Fair enough for me. And then they square off. And I found, and what's funny is once Parker is face-to-face with somebody, look at this. Peter Parker is full of thought balloons. So when you're by yourself, you're yapping aloud. And now when you're face to face and you can start spilling your one-liners and all your crap, now you're in thought balloon mode. It's like, come on, man. Needed a better handle on that. Because I like, sometimes, like, I'm not the biggest Spider-Man fan. He almost goes into that Deadpool territory for me where he's too jokey and I'm like, yeah, but I like when they write it as like him weaponizing his smart mouth. I love when it's Spidey's face to face with the villain and he's doing all that jokey smack talk to get in the villain's head, like he kind of weaponizes it. I always love that, his banter with the villains. But we don't get a ton of that here. A line that I liked is when Spider-Man refers to him as a vampire. And I love Morbius's reaction to that. Vampire, I suppose your tiny mind would label me thus. But what do simple names in empty epithets mean to me? I love that he called it an epithet. And he didn't identify with the word vampire. Like he was like insulted by what a simple term for what I am. I thought that was cool. And yeah, and you know, they set the table from the beginning. If you're gonna set the table that he has to go to Kurt Connor's house to, you know, get into some seclusion and try to figure out this 6-arm dilemma, you damn well better pay it off and have him show up later. And what a convenient time for him to lizard eyes. Great cliffhanger at the ending, great ending to the issue. Well crafted, man. I like the story, but for me, the story really, I got really gripped with the story. Pretty much like right here. When they introduced Morbius, page 10 is when I really bought into the story. Before that, I was kind of slogging. Through it, to be honest. I wanted things to just progress a little bit. So I landed on a 3 for the story. Structurally sound, needed some fat trimmed off in the front end. But, and bringing up the rear. Mr. Miracle, we got a 4-5, a 3-5, a 3. Where will Miracle land on this?
All right. So, story of this book. I think, you know, Medraw kind of touched on it a little bit when he talked about, you know, this being a unique story in that it's a vampire story. Like, we can talk about this little Comic Code Authority label, right? This book came out in 1971. That was the same year that the whole revamp of the Comic Code Authority happened, right? So that now they could show murder, they could show monsters again. The werewolf was back in, the vampires were back in, ish. Okay, like there was a caveat on that. It couldn't just be a vampire. You had to somehow link it back to literature, which is why we see Morbius appearing for the first time on the boat. Right? That if they didn't put that in and link it back to Bram Stoker's Dracula, this issue wouldn't exist, right? Like, and I like that instead of just putting Dracula in here, they come up with their very own unique vampire, right? Who has a unique backstory of becoming a vampire and how vampires got started. It's also good that Spider-Man is like, I can't believe this is vampire. That can't be a vampire. There's no such thing as vampires, because vampires have never existed in the Marvel universe until this issue, right? This is the very first Marvel vampire story with Morbius. Good on them, like I said, for not just pulling Dracula and just being like, okay, Dracula shows up, like having their very own unique vampire character. Because like the Comic Code Authority came into force pre-Marvel. There's some timely vampires and Atlas vampires and that kind of stuff, but when it became actually Marvel Comics, it was too late. You couldn't get a vampire. You couldn't have a werewolf. That changed in like literally months before this issue came out, right? So they must have been like, you know, we're allowed vampires now. How can we swing this? How can we get our vampire in here? You are right as well, Medragon, that this is the first time ever that Amazing Spider-Man was not written by Stan Lee. So I'm sure that was a shocker to people at the time, right? Pulling this off the shelf, going, "Oh my God, somebody else wrote this." It definitely doesn't have a Stan Lee feel. It does have more of a Roy Thomas feel to it. A little bit at the beginning, we see the Stan Lee angst that he often puts in with Spider-Man. But you gotta admit, if you woke up with 4 extra arms, you're gonna talk to yourself. You're gonna be freaking out. Kenny nailed it. That the whole word bubble, thought bubble thing did kind of bug me, but I can't really see that that's a story element as much. I guess wandering around your apartment talking to yourself versus thinking at the at your opponent, at your enemy. I got the sense they killed everybody on the ship because they were trying to hunt him down, right? And they didn't find him because they're a bunch of red shirts, right? They're fodder for Morbius to expand his character story. They're never seeing another Marvel comic. They're not gonna see too many panels after they tried to kill the vampire during the day, right?
Explain the red shirts there, Dave.
Star Trek.
Ah, okay. There you go.
Right? The guy at the red shirt gets killed all the time.
Not all of us are as versed as you are, you know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe you're not as geeky as I am. Right? But yeah, there were some great panels in here. And like little things like David said, screwing up his swinging ability because obviously your balance is going to be off and your other arms are going to be flailing. You're not going to know how to use them properly. Making Morbius fly because he has hollow bones. That was cool. I thought that was neat rather than, just being able to fly. He's got hollow bones and the wind carries him up to these different places. How neat was that? He can be up in the day. He's not like a true vampire. We're not going to get his origin story till next issue, 102. But he's more like a man bat than a vampire, right? Like he's trying to do something. He drinks blood. He is a vampire, but he's not really as vampirish as Dracula. You know what I mean? He's got other things. He could stand a little daylight. Can be up in the daytime, that kind of stuff. I don't think he has hypnotic powers or stuff like Dracula does. Anyway, I like the story. I thought it carried well. I mean, monster fight, right? In a 3-way monster fight at the end. Having Kurt Connors show up and be like, "I am the lizard." And this whole issue centers, of course, around the main theme, science gone amok, right? Like all these guys are monsters because they tried to chemical up some formula to save themselves and it backfired on them, right? And they turned into vampires and lizards and 8-armed or 8-appendaged freaks, right? So that's our overall theme of this issue, and I like the theme of this issue. So anyway, I gave the story probably the worst mark I gave it. There was a few continuity errors, some weird dialogue and some stuff. This dialogue, though, I'm just going to hit it. I know I'm taking some time, but there was one little soliloquy where he was talking when he got off the boat. Oh, yeah. Daylight saps me of my will. Dead men's faces glower at me. Lifeless fingers point. Rasping voices say, "J'accuse." Like, I love little soliloquies like that. I like so
yeah,
lines in there. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Daylight saps me too.
Yeah. Right. So, oh yeah, daylight saps me too. I'm not wearing my glasses.
Oh no, that's
Anyways,
just me personally.
What's that?
Just me personally. I can relate.
Oh, daylight saps. You identify with them, right?
Yeah, identify. 3 point. What was it? A 3.5 Miracle?
No, I gave it a 3.
3
yeah.
Even from Miracle.
Yeah.
I'm on the same page with you there, buddy. Chat, what say you? Grade this story.
Cool.
Yeah, a fun read, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible. We've definitely read a lot worse on the show.
Oh yeah, definitely. I didn't mention this because I thought for sure somebody was going to, but I think Miracle came the closest. That Morbius almost had like a Shakespearean type of soul, you know. He was conflicted and he was, tortured, but yet, he was very well. His logic and his line of thinking was very well in line with what would you think a rational man in that position. So it was very interesting that Roy Thomas chose to have that kind of almost English kind of upper lip stuff with Morbius. I thought that was an interesting choice, and again, maybe that does have to do more with the literature kind of ambiance that this had. But a really, really cool issue when you think about how many different elements were juggled in here and how well they coalesced.
Yeah, well said. All the Morbius scenes, I was pretty gripped. I was pretty gripped by it. I really liked it.
That was good. I didn't mention it, but I like that Dave caught that too about the whole hollow bone thing. Birds have hollow bones. It's one of the reasons they can fly. So it was a very nice touch on the part of the writer there. And they did a lot of actual, like, really low-key detail about Morbius. Like, he was still sluggish on the ship. He wasn't at his full power because it was daylight, maybe, or he wasn't in full Morbius mode. That was kind of cool. It's like, it seems fast to them, but I'm moving, like, super slow right now because...
Yeah, or maybe he hasn't been with a meal for a long time,
Or like he was captain the night before.
And Gwen, you're right, Gwen Stacy was very liberated woman. Let's catch an R-rated flick, Peter. So
you can cover my eyes during the spicy parts.
Yeah, she was being very
playing the coquettish, kind of gal.
And that's like a real movie from that time that was like banned.
Yep.
It was like a young girl's strange erotic journey from Milan.
Oh gosh, Rochelle.
Rochelle. I think that's where that kind of reference in Seinfeld comes from, was this movie, because it's like this Swedish film that like has boobs in it, and it was like, oh my god, not boobs, not the 70s.
1971. That was man. That was very controversial. I was a little guy, and I remember them talking about it on the news and so forth.
On the news, really? Like now it's like the stuff we're exposed to now, like that's nothing.
That would be on daytime TV.
There was a few kind of like pop culture type references, like what do you say, something out of Kafka. Tony Perkins. You mentioned Tony Perkins, that movie.
From Psycho.
Look up who David Fry was.
Anthony Perkins.
David Fry, comedian. Betty Friedan, who was like a women's liberator kind of person, I guess.
Yep.
So it's just like, but yeah, a few pop culture references that are dated, because I was like, this book, it's me, man. It's older than I am.
Yep.
Roger Burns Raw in 71.
Hey, Gorilla Todd Comics, good to see you.
I was 6 years old, Bill. I haven't even seen a bra yet.
What's up, Joey Bag of Sevens? All right, I think we got a fair amount of grade representation here, Gino.
Yep, all right.
All right, Jackson, he recognizes the show has it all: Spider-Man, Trek, and Seinfeld.
Comes in at 3.5.
Oh, hey!
3.5.
Oh. Pretty close to the chat.
You were so young, Roger. Oh, please. You're about the same age, Damien. Don't fool yourself.
I know. I think I just enjoyed this one so much because it was nice to see Peter get knocked down a peg for a change. Obviously he was the instrument of his own hardship in this episode because he didn't do the proper scientific method. He didn't create the antidote ahead of time. He took it untested. So right off the bat, within the first 2 pages, we know he screwed himself up. Yeah. And so Mr. High Wit, was having trouble dealing with this, which I kind of dug. So
yeah, I agree.
All right, we're gonna circle back to the art. We got a little taste of the man Gil Kane's artwork on the cover of this book. Let's see how he held up his duties on the interior. And my man Roger is hydrated and ready to drop some knowledge on us and some analysis on the inside art of this issue.
Okay. All right. So this is a tough one for me, guys, because I do like this art style. Kane has such good command of expressions, especially in the right circumstances. Some are a little bit perhaps over the top here and there, but overall, I think that he does a good job of, look at here, Peter Parker's face there when he's seeing his hands there, and he's like, oh my God, this is not a dream. This is happening. The shock and the horror there in his eyes. Very well done. Some of the backgrounds are a little sparse here and there, but I think that's kind of on purpose. He wants to focus on the character's expressions when he does that, I think. And so that occurs. Now, this is not a slam on Gil Kane, but I do not like these forearms. Just the concept of these forearms, because it just looks like a puppeteer is holding up the four unshouldered arms. Okay, look at this panel here, right? I mean, look how they dangle. And they're just like awkward because is there a shoulder joint in there? I mean, it's very tough for you to imagine how he could work these forearms when they're coming out of his rib cage. It's just an unwieldy kind of dynamic, really. So I just have a problem with that. And looky here when he's on the futon or whatever that is. What are those arms doing? One is on the futon, one is kind of in the air, palm down. It's very tough for you to try to conceptualize what to do with these arms, when they're just there, and he doesn't have good control of them, supposedly. That part really kind of bothered me. Look at this one here where he's thinking back, right? Where he's thinking back, what if Aunt May sees me and he has four arms and he's Peter Parker and he made a jacket with extra arm slots? Just silly stuff. It looks odd there. So again, not the art. I think that he did a good job, really, like trying to portray the more realistic parts of those arms. In fact, he would hide them sometimes so that it wouldn't be so apparent. Like here, you say he's just using his regular arms there. He's not showcasing them, kind of trying to hide them a little bit, just sort of flopping them on the side. Good facial expressions again. This one is a little odd, though. That one there for Kirk Connors, it looks a little too mischievous for me. It looks almost like a villainous. Oh, maybe it's a portent to the lizard part that's coming later on, right? But it looks a little odd to me. Just the whole concept of this forearms. However, Gil Kane, the way he draws Spider-Man, the body and the face is among my favorites. Just he has like sort of a way of showing flow and movement and dynamism that I really just think is excellent. Like here when he's got this long panel here and he actually got off the train and he's kind of running on the sand and the hands are kind of helping him along there a little bit. Pretty well done there. And the structures, the Hitchcockian house, that one there with Morbius, really well done with the shadowing here, because remember they're coming down from this hole where the sun is coming down. He was obviously down in the dark. One thing I've noticed about Gil Kane is that, man, you see a lot of nostrils with Gil Kane art. I mean, no matter what angle it is, you see nostrils. There's nostrils here. Women, men, sailors, monsters, lizards, you see nostrils. Really well done face there on Morbius. Really creepy. Look at how the eyes, like I said, since he sort of supposed to have a bat. Later on, you find out he's a product of bat, some kind of bat extract or something. So you have the elongated top eyes there. Really creepy. With the little, goatee there, really nicely done. Good. Look at this one here, where he's punched roundhouse and he's flailing those arms. Some of them look double jointed to me a little bit odd in the pose. But again, guys, that has to be super difficult. One thing is doing it on the cover where you have plenty of time for detail. Another thing is to get this done in a month or less than a month and make it look realistic. It's just a tough assignment here for Gil Kane. But again, I really like that the way that he portrays a story. It's very tightly drawn. Panel to panel is absolutely logical. Follows the story elements completely and really just perfectly. Guys, I'm really, really, really torn here because those flailing arms bother me so much. But I do like, his command of the rest of the anatomy, the expressions, and those nostrils. It's just kind of a tell. That's not really a deduction. So I had to knock it down a bit because it just, those arms flailing, it's like a puppeteer almost on some of those scenes. So 3.5, but otherwise, great job with the art here. Absolutely stupendous talent.
Oh. Well said. Great analysis by Roger.
Good one.
So you can just tell there's certain guys that they just like structurally sound professionals, and Gil is in that club. You can tell we're dealing with a true comic book pro, I noticed that I like the inking in this book. I think it's like really tight ink work. I never feel like things are too heavily inked. I always feel like, so he got to just give him a shout out. Frank Giacciola really one's on top of his duties, in my opinion. I feel like everything is really crisp in this book. The panels are well laid out. The camera angle changes at good moments, which is important. Sometimes certain books are it's just like a really flat, always flat angles. And I like when an artist is mindful of the camera, And I did notice that I wasn't sure how much to tag the artist for, but these extra arms, man, there's a reason those things didn't stick around long. It just doesn't make sense. Doesn't look like these arms look huge. Like, look how long those arms are on its right. They look really strange. There's a couple panels. There's one later in the book that I'm going to show you that he perfectly uses those arms. But a lot of them, they are just kind of flailing around. There's something about the way Gil does eyes that is like kind of jarring to me. And he tends to like include the whole eyeball, not a lot of like squinty kind of eyes. They're always open enough that you almost see the whole eyeball, and he'll just do a black dot in the middle. And, sometimes artists will put like a little glare over the eyeball, the iris, and I don't know, but it's his eyeball, like she looks like a marionette doll in that scene. It almost makes her look lifeless the way her eyes are drawn. And there's another page, not this one though. I think it suits it. Peter's eyes look so great there. I love that facial expression. He really nails that, so that's not an example of it. But like, I love his Peter Parker's great. Like, he's a young man, but he's not like drawing like a really young kid. And you also got to be careful not to draw him sometimes I see Peter Parker drawn in some stuff and it looks like like a grown man, which you gotta, or an older man, and the charm of Peter Parker is that he's a young adult, and I think he captures that pretty well. But even still here, there's something about those eyes that feels a little off. I agree. On the Kurt Connors page, something looked strangely sinister. And even after reading the whole story to the end, I still don't see why there should be a reason that he is portrayed so sinister at this point. And I feel like it's almost a little more jarring on mine because I'm seeing the different color differences in some of these books. And like the yellow eyes, which is, I don't think it's his natural eye color. Like the yellow eyes in the background just really makes it look like you're on the phone with a man with bad intent on the back. And by all intents and purposes, the transformation into Lizard seems like it's out of his control, not intentional, and that he had good intentions in trying to help Spider-Man out at that point. So I don't know why he drew it that way. His Spider-Man is overall good. I feel like made him a little stocky. I like a lean and mean Spider-Man, which he pulls off for the most part. Good, clean Spider-Man head. As we continue on, Morbius. Morbius has a strange designed face, and it varies in different times. Like sometimes it's more detailed than others. So, and this panel made me laugh. Like Morbius is, I need to take a nap. And the way he drew him, like in his little cozy arms crossed with just a straight smile on his face, just a traditional U-shaped smile. There's something that it made Morbius look like so not menacing. He looks like a happy little boy taking a nap with his little wholesome smile and his arms crossed. That panel was just, I don't know, it looks so silly to me. I think that he didn't nail that right, but he did nail this right. Talk about camera angle, talk about perspective. Morbius flying in towards Peter right there is awesome. That's not an easy body position to sit in the workshop. To position the feet like that and the way he's coming out, like you have to have a pretty good handle on anatomy, perspective, and that's why I say we're dealing with a real pro here. You know, that's not an amateur hour panel. But Morbius's face, you know, sometimes it looks very simplistic like that, like he's just a very smooth face, and sometimes it's heavily detailed with a lot of wrinkles and snarls. So I feel like that look changes a little bit, but overall very solid. The money shot looks great. And where's the panel that I alluded to? That was the perfect arm panel. I'll end on that right here. Oh, it's on the same. He nailed this page. It's the same page that the flying happens. Peter stressed out over the table with his hands propped on the desk and with his head in his hands, his, second arm there. I love the use of that. The joints look natural because you're right. The shoulders, where shoulder joints are, don't make sense with that many arms. But right there, it's like, wow, I really like that. That's the best use of the arms in the book. So, very solid, very solid. I landed on a 3.5 for it. Boom. Mortal Biggie Shack's in the house. What's up, brother?
Yo.
Hey, Biggie.
There it is. Always on hand.
Just got back from the dentist.
Nice. Keep those chompers clean, man.
I went to the army dentist. You probably had a better time of it than I did.
Oh, jeez.
They berate you while you're in the chair.
Oh, jeez.
Our man Miracle. Let's say you on Gil Kane's art in this book, my friend.
Well. Again, Gil or Eli, always been, one of those top guys in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I mean, he worked right up until his death, unfortunately. And always love it, all this stuff. And I mean, he starts us off right away. Pow! Big splash page with the weird arms, right? Where else are you going to make him come out of the hair, right? Like, if you don't put him out of the sides of his chest. But yeah, pretty much you're not going to be, like, really able to use it, right? But, I mean, having his arms above his head for that splash page and everything looks good, I think. Also tough because Peter's a guy and he's supposed to be muscular, so those arms have got to be kind of big, right? If you think of a character like Spiral, she's quite thin, and so she can have really thin, wavy arms. Kind of helps to balance things up, right? Tough when you got big, beefy Spider-Man arms. He is very expressive in his faces, although I do find sometimes his faces change from panel to panel a little too much, right? Like if you're looking at that Spider-Man versus that. Sorry, it's hard to do it in the camera. Versus this one, right? They have quite a different look for his Parker. I mean, you can tell they're both Peter Parker, but there's quite a bit of a different look to them. What else do we got? Yeah, this like menacing Spider-Man shot. I like that one with the forearms. He did well. Like he's good at the only way you're going to hide those forearms is perspective, right? High shots, low shots, Spider-Man leaning back, right? Trying to cut down those angles so that you can't see. Like if he's got his arms down, everything would have to be coming out of one armpit. You know what I mean? It would look really, really weird. He's got some great expressions on J. Jonah Jameson in here, and Robbie, as they talking. There's a lot of talking at the beginning. But I like the talking too. Just I never said it in the story, but I thought that there was some real good Peter Parker stuff in the story. Anyway, art-wise, you know, panels like this whole montage of Mobius killing the crew without having to have a huge, like, full page of guys getting killed. Mobius just, there's a couple guys that get a up-close shot, and then we get the montage panel, and away we go with, you know, having him up here and the, like, floating around in the sun. All that stuff's kind of cool. Even this, like, I don't think he's lazy with his backgrounds. Like, he's got quite good stuff. I mean, even stuff like this panel with the ship there, he could have done that from a low angle and just had nothing but sky in the background, right? And when he does do that, let's go this way, like that panel with Spider-Man, there's nothing but sky, but we're looking up, right? And he wants you to focus in on the character, and that's a nice angle to have, you know, a dramatic look. Lots of stuff. Morbius, I like the way his character is designed. He's a little bit beatnik for me, but it was 1971. Like the little scrawny beard and stuff like that was it's a little beatnik. And the cape is a little over the top, but again, it was kind of disc-y sort of era, right? The big lapel cape or whatever he's got on here for his shirt. This issue has lots of advertisements in it as well. I mean, it's some great. You get splash pages in some places. I think, like we talked about this, that Dr. Connors said that his lab was in the basement.
Yeah.
And here we have Morbius throwing Spider-Man down from the basement into the sub-basement, I guess. I think the panel should be this way, right? We're
hitting him up.
Morbius throwing him up to the first floor, where Connors will come through the door, and there he'll be, right? But little continuity error between the story and the artwork, but I can forgive it. It's like, it's a great page, right? Like having Spider-Man coming down, very reminiscent of this page, but not exactly the same. You know what I mean? And the fight scenes are good. You know, Morbius giving him the double pump fist there in the corner. Like, that kind of stuff is good. There's a good sense of, like, he's been hit hard. Connors looks good. Again, we get some weird angles from him. Great that Connors showed up. And, of course, here in our triple threat match, Morbius, the Lizard, Spider-Man, all monstered up. Looks good. Kind of a half splash to end the issue. Yeah, I liked the art. I thought great action. There were some good shots. Even he's trying his best to make all this dialogue stuff at the beginning even look good. He's got the arms, Peter using the new arms in a lot of the shots, which I thought was clever. And so, yeah, I gave the interior art 4. Good work for that.
Thanks.
A 4 from Miracle. All right, well done. We're gonna pop over to the man himself. The Articulate Genome presents.
Well, we'll see about that. I might be at a loss for words here. If you would share screen with me,
Sure.
It'd be much easier this way, I think. All right, so here we go. So right at the bat, we got a splash page to open up, as it should be. Now, let's take some anatomical problems aside. Yes, it can't work. There's not nearly enough muscle mass and flesh on the sides to articulate arms. Okay, it's a ridiculous idea. I think Gil made it look as good as he possibly could, though, because it didn't like distort his torso, which would have to be distorted to really work and all that. So it looks as good as I think he can make it. Does it look silly? Yes, but I think it's interesting concept. So good start here. I'm gonna get off to a couple negatives. First off, I am not crazy the way he draws Parker's face in general, or in particular, and some of the other characters in general. But really, Parker's face irks me sometimes. And there's a lot of like changing faces all throughout this book. Like you never know what one panel the face is gonna look like. Sometimes it looks almost Peterish like this, and then you have the one right above here, which is just awful. And like you were saying, a lot of up the nose shots for whatever reason. I do like Gwendolyn though. I think she looks pretty cool with her legs all tucked in like that. So I'm not a big fan of that. And there is a little bit of kind of, I want to say like Gumby-itis in this. Some of the drawing, especially in the action shots, the limbs kind of bend weird, strange ways. Sometimes there's not great flow to it. So I can ding him on that. But that's really the two main problems. I'm not crazy. Oh, the other one was, see if I have a good example of it here, is he has this Ditko way of drawing Spidey's face that drives me crazy. Like just a pie plate face with the eyes drawn. I can't stand that. It's like, give him some angles. You know he's wearing the mask. It's a skin tight mask. It should follow the angles of his cheeks and all that. So, okay. And there's like an instance of like the hand getting kind of weird and all that. All right. So there's a couple negatives. I love everything else about this book. I want to actually bring attention to a couple panels that I think are very, very telling of Gil's mastery here. Let's see here. Okay. Take note here in the first one, right? He's freaking out a little bit. He's got his hands on his head, right? All right. It's a stressful situation. Notice that's his gloved, normal hands. Same here in this panel here. Now, if you go all the way to the actual panel that Kenny talked about right here, look what happened. I think he's saying in drawings that he's actually getting a little more control of these arms, because now, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, now the extra hands are doing the holding of his head there. I think it's a great shot, and whether it was intentional or not, I'm not sure. But a couple more panels I think were just stupendous. And it's actually kind of funny is no one's actually in them. It's like my favorite panel in this entire book is right here. Okay, this, if you have to actually read it though, I'll read it real quick. Look up Spider-Man. Maybe in trying to pinpoint your feeling of your dread, you set your sights too low. Maybe it's not the house at all, which has birthed that eerie, spine-chilling sensation. So it makes you look at this panel, and right up here in this corner, which you would almost never notice, it's a bit of skyline, and there's the ship right out there. It's an amazing thing. And then right above it, in this panel right here, where he walks up on the house in silhouette, and there it is at this crazy leaning ankle, like something out of Psycho. Brilliant storytelling. Side note, I noticed this when reading through there. I love the color work here. it's like we have like one dash of watercolor there, and that makes the grass, but whatever. Just so many cool panels, a lot of good attention to detail. There was a couple other ones. It's funny because I'm pointing out a lot of the same ones that Kenny pointed out, but because they're so good. This panel right here, where it shows basically the rest of the crewmen, it's like this guy's either been bit or he knows it's going to happen, so he's covering his throat, trying to ward him off with his hands. A great, terrified look. Some guys are fighting back. This guy's praying. He's on his knees begging, basically, not to get killed. It says all this, but having to show any of it. And here's a guy looming in the background. Just so incredible. Like this, the whole ocean, it's like the House on Haunted Hill kind of feel to it. So many cool things. Let's see. I was going to close up on one more thing. Where did it go? Okay, it was interesting because if you read, this tells how strong that Gil is at storytelling, at his art. Because if you read up a couple panels, Morbius is saying, I finally have a foe I can go all out on and be really strong with and fight hard. If you notice down this panel, here's little beads of sweat on his forehead while he's choking Spider-Man. So he's really straining on this fight. So many cool things in this book that I can't even begin to talk about it. Like I said, knocking into the sub basement. What a perfect idea. At the very end, who shows up? But of course, Mr. Lizard. So I never did like the short-faced Lizard. I don't know if this is him drawing him like in transformation, and then because his face gets longer, like 2 panels down. But I always did like the longer kind of reptilian snout of Lizard. I was always a big fan of the Lizard character. I like reptiles. So my hardest thing here is decide whether I want to give this a 4 or 4.5. I really want to give this a 4.5 because I just love this. I'm going to give it a 4.5. I love this style. Once again, look at this angle he has right here on Kurt. He's off on the side. Everything about this book is just made to make you feel a little bit disquieted with what you're looking at, right? And I can overlook some anatomy problems, and especially with the arms. Like here's some of that gumbiness I was talking about. You see that, but I mean, it's just a lot of extra work. It's got to be a nightmare to try to make it like realized and believable. And I just love this book. I love the way it's drawn. And outside of Jim Lee, the entire staff at Image couldn't hold Gil Kane's jock. So I'm gonna give it a 4.5. I love this book, artwork wise.
All right.
Wow. Cool.
You know, a well justified 4.5. Great attention to detail there by Mr. Gino.
Couldn't hold their jock, eh?
Grow 2 Orloff. Good to see you. Oh, good. Very appropriate book for that youngin' to be reading. Monsters. That's the topic of the discussion. Nice. Chat, Genome was kind enough to show you the digital scans of these pages. I'm gonna prompt you to grade this art, y'all. See where you land.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I think we've all been on the same kind of page for this one.
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty close. Pretty close. I think it's just sometimes it's just, you know, like Gino pointed out a few things that I saw on there, and he was a little more impressed with it than I was. But no doubt that Gil Kane was the right man for the job here, in my estimation. Yeah. I can't think of too many who would have done this given more justice than he.
I get the feeling for this concept. I bet they put like some memos out there. It's like, send us your rendition of Spider-Man with 6 arms, and I bet they went with the guy who could actually pull it off. You know, that's the feeling I get out of that. Or maybe they had him in mind the whole time. Who knows? But
okay, so because I was just wondering to myself of how, because he seems like such a pro. You could just tell you're dealing with a professional in this book. And I went to see how long was he in the game, you know, at this point, early 70s.
Tarzan on, right? So.
And he was a Golden Age guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
His first inking job was for Zip Comics number 14 back in May 1941. Wow.
Yep. He's back in the Bob Kane days, right?
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't really get to mention, I didn't want to go on too long, but the inking was stupendous in this book. Very light hand, which was good. You think on like a Gothic style, they go really crazy with the shadows and the dark, you know, and the half visages and all that. And it was very well done inking, I think.
Yeah. It's measured, you know, like a concept that I had never really thought of. I think Roger mentioned it on one of our episodes of like, maybe an inker like wanting to do too much, of like wanted to put his own stamp on a book and like overdoing it. Yeah,
definitely.
I think is good insight. Notice me. Look how much ink I put on this. You know?
Yeah, it's a complimentary. You know, it's important because, you know, it's like, hey, listen, you have a car, right? And imagine, you know, you have a car and it's just like got the primer on it. Well, that's kind of like what the inker does. He's the one who sort of finishes, does the rough edges, does the details, but still, it's still a Cadillac. It's not. He's not converting it into a Ford, you know.
No,
yeah. And that's what this inker does. He complements and he accentuates the talent of the.
Don't a lot of books call it embellish? Is it embellishment?
Yeah.
Because I've seen it like cited as not inking, but I think embellishment is one that I've seen a lot.
I mean, John Buscema got Senate freaking thrown off his book because he wasn't happy with one of the greatest inkers of all time, the way he was, you know, working on his treatments. So, yeah, some inkers can really try to take over and hurt your product.
And some wouldn't work with Coletta at all.
He just deletes stuff in the back.
Yeah, no Coletta, and give me anybody else but Coletta. Yeah.
Poor Vince. Did anyone ever read his farewell note in Marvel? That's the stuff of legend right there, by the way.
Yeah, he really gave it to him. Yep.
3, 5.
Big Daddy Kane. Yeah, I don't think
that's
so.
what it was.
I don't think so, Bill. I don't think Big Daddy Kane was around in the 40s,
He's
buddy.
ahead of his time. Yeah.
All right, so what's the score, guys?
Let's just any more grades coming in. You got 10 seconds.
Let's see. Yeah, we got some solid grades. 3.5, 4.5. I haven't really seen, who knows? We got maybe one more grade left, but we haven't seen any serviceables.
Any serviceable? Nope.
Really throughout the evening on this book.
Nope.
I wouldn't say this is a serviceable book.
We got a couple 3s, I think, in there, but that's about it. By the way, Kenny, I like this little watermark.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
Yeah, we got some nice trade dress up there. It's
really bells and whistles.
Coming in
nice
at a
touch there.
Chat comes in with a 4. Always good taste. Always good taste. 3.9, 4 into infinity. So
cool.
Nice.
Well done, chat. Well done. Now we touch on the concept of the book, and this is one where sometimes some of us take it from different angles. The marketing approach. The more, is there any artistic merit to the concept, or was it just a money move? We will see. And that's what we're going to get into now. I will tee this category up first. And something that I've heard a couple guys mention here, and, I don't know too much about it. So I'm actually looking forward to hearing the gang, I think, chime in on that. But it seems like the use of a vampire and using the term vampire with the Comics Code Authority is was a deliberate move and maybe something new for the time, but to be honest, I don't know too much on the backstory on that. I'm going to approach this from, you're an Amazing Spider-Man. He's got one of the better rogues galleries in the Marvel Universe, and it's time to introduce a new one. And for him to debut a new character, the new character debut, I think they executed it about as good as you can. You give the guy a great cover debut. I love that. Announce his arrival. Here he is. I think that I like it when you introduce a character and he's not just a black and white, I'm a bad guy, I want to take over the world. I thought they did inject a little humanity into him. Maybe I'm reading too much into it when he says, I don't want to hurt you, right there in the beginning of the ship. But I think it was intentional. And between that and just the lingo that Morbius uses, you could tell that this isn't a villain of the week type of character, because there's plenty of those. What differentiates a villain of the week from one with staying power that carves himself into Marvel Comics lore like Morbius did, and I think it is effort at the concept stage. How do you want to approach it? And I think Morbius is given a fantastic debut. I think that the 6-arm gimmick is another part of this concept. They tried to do something new and different with Spider-Man, and it looks like this is going to be the 6-arm gimmick for a few issues. Personally, I don't know. I mean, the only thing I like about the 6 arms is that it kind of played into a kind of an interesting Kurt Connors tie-in, and because he has his arm-based trauma that happened, and his science experiments and research was revolving around the regrowing of limbs. So maybe he knows something about reducing limbs or something. That was kind of cool. But other than that, all the arms are doing is having Peter Parker whine and crack wise about it and deprecate about it. It doesn't look cool. The black costume was trying something different with Spider-Man that looked cool. It added something to the character. The 6 arms, I mean, I think right when you see it that this isn't something that's going to have staying power. Doesn't make sense. it's just a quirky thing to inject into the story. Personally, I was never a fan of the 6-arm arc with Spider-Man. So concept-wise, I don't think there was much more thought put behind it than, something to do, something different to mix it up. And I feel like it's kind of a fail. I don't think anyone looks back fondly on the 6-arm Spider-Man, and it never really came back. So that should tell you something. They left it back in the 70s where it belonged. So as far as the Spider-Man centric stuff, I think it was a fail. I think it was something to just stir up activity and interest and whatever. That was a fail, but a very well handled introduction of a new villain. And I think there's a reason that Morbius endured, because obviously I think they went about it with some, with some thought and with some care, and they built a pretty cool character that stuck around. So for that, I'm tempted to give it a serviceable, man. But you know what? I'm gonna give it more props for something that I sense I'm gonna learn a little bit more about. But maybe the bold move of bringing vampires into mainstream Marvel, I'm gonna say that was probably a good move, and I'm gonna bring it up to a 3.5. No, you know what? No, I'm calling a 3. I don't want to go crazy here because I was considering 2.5. I'm not going to go up a whole point now. A 3.
Kenny catches himself.
And
sometimes I get caught up in the moment. You know how I get. I have to reel myself in.
Oh, that Portuguese emotion! I tell you, it just envelops you.
That's right. Let's tee up our friend Mr. Miracle. What do you think about the concept of this issue, ASM 101?
Well, I am a comic historian, a lover of the history of comics, as much as Medarog is. And so the concept of this book, we'll explain again, the Comic Code Authority, seduction of the innocent happened. Congress passed this thing, and the Comic Code Authority, in the Comic Code Authority, they banned a whole bunch of stuff. Murder of police officers, all the monsters. You couldn't have the Wolfman. You couldn't have vampires. Couldn't have mummies, right? All this stuff got banned outright. Certain amount of murder, certain words were left out. Drug use had to be completely left out. All that kind of stuff. In 1971, the Comic Code Authority got revamped. They allowed all this stuff. So they're like, why do we care about werewolves and all that kind of stuff? I mean, it was so bad before that time. Marv Wolfman, they almost didn't publish a comic because he wrote it and his name appeared in it, and Wolfmen were not allowed, right? So they had to be very specific in the title and in the credits for the comic book to make sure that this was the writer Marv Wolfman, not a Wolfman. This only happened, the whole revamp only happened a few months before this issue came out. So I think it was really bold of them to jump in there, come in with a vampire character. They wanted to bring these types of characters in for a long time, but weren't allowed. Instead of, like I said, bringing in a existing vampire character, they create their very own first brand new concept of a character for a vampire. And even an origin story of how, I know the origin story happens next time, but of how vampires became into existence in the Marvel universe. So I think the concept is very cool. Monster fight, science run amok. I've said these couple things already, right? There's a underlying theme here for this whole book, and I like the story. I like the concept, so I gave the concept a 4.
Wow, very succinct from Mr. Miracle.
Very succinct. And he covered some of that ground on his story review. So well said. Well said.
Excellent.
Gino, what do you think? Gino was always a man thinking about how to get money out of these little grubby kids' pockets. How do you think they did in that regard?
Well, if they were trying to get money, the cover probably does it, because there's a big action. Spidey looks kind of weird. So, Mom, can I have that quarter? Yeah, I want this book really bad. And the inside story would probably lose him pretty quick, but except for the fight scenes. But from a fiscal standpoint, it's interesting. This is really an important book too. It's like the handing of the reins over to somebody new to put their own spin on things, and of course, went into some very capable hands, of course. But I really like the concept of this book. Is once again, this is you threw a bad guy in there who's a little bit ambiguous. Yes, he does seem a bit bloodthirsty, but maybe that's the bloodthirst talking, because you see him in his less Morbius mode, and he seems kind of, not liking what he has to do. So we have the conflicted bad guy, which someone mentioned earlier, makes a much, much, much more interesting villain when they're a little more shades of gray than just the mustache twirling, Snidely Whiplash types. So it's a really good way to bring not only a new villain in for Spidey, maybe a future Rogues Gallery member, but who knows? But to actually do it right, and you put a little bit of the old original Bram Stoker kind of twist on it, just because the way he's introduced through the ship and all that, very, very cool. I also liked the putting Spidey into a difficult situation of his own making. I think it was a very good idea. It kind of, I said earlier, kind of brought him down a peg. And it's true, because he's always so high on the horse. Spidey never loses. I don't know if he had been in any serious trials at this point. What's the one where the building falls on him or whatever? He's trapped. I can't remember what issue that was, but I don't know if that's happened yet.
That's in the. You mean that happened already? Yeah,
that already happened. So yeah, okay. So he's seen some travails, but usually Spidey's wisecracking him with these villains the whole time, and it seems like a fun thing for him, right, to be a superhero. And right now, this is not fun. He is actually having to realize, not only am I a superpower being, but now I'm a freak, and I can't hide the former now because of the latter. So I did it to myself, and it just kind of showed that he was too arrogant, too full of himself, and maybe too intelligent for his own good to follow standard safety protocols, right? So I dig it. I really dig what they did here with this book. It's just it's a good 100th issue too, because, even back then it had to mean something. Oh, it's 100 issues. This has got to be something that's going to have staying power. So they bring a new villain in, which is a rework of an old villain, but basically instantly recognizable as a vampire. Everyone knows what they are. They put a good artist on it. They put a good writer on it. Stan wisely step back a little bit and let someone else run with it. They had a new spin on things with the 6 arms. Spider-Man's now vulnerable, psychologically at least, and they find at the end physically as well. It's just good. They brought a new bad guy in, and he bested Spider-Man in this fight, but maybe Spider-Man even says it in the dialogue. It's like, I'm tired after 2 days of straight work. He still doesn't have full control of these arms. He's just not in a great state of mind. So, and Morbius did have to work at the fight, so he didn't come in with the super overpowered, villain too, to make him look better than he is. I don't know. I think it's a great concept. I give it a 4. This is how you introduce a new villain or a new character in general. This is how you weave stories together. I think very competently, makes it just breeze through, and it really makes you want to read not only the next issue, but the one previous. It's like, if you didn't read 99, I bet you would try to go find it now. It's like, why does Spidey have 6 arms again? He obviously drank a vial, but was he spending all 99 like creating this serum? So very, very, very wise, I think, and just good solid book at a turning point for basically any comic book back then. And give it a 4. I think it's a great concept.
Excellent.
Very nice.
100 is the previous issue, though. This is 101.
Oh, 101. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I love how Genome said that, the reason that Spidey got those 6 arms is because he didn't follow the right safety protocol. That was very well said. You gotta do that, or else you'll end up with 6 arms, man.
Yep, happens every time.
Gotta get behind that OSHA standard, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. OSHA was pissed when they found out about this.
Guy's growing arms.
He didn't check the MSDS of his potion there, did he?
Yep.
Mr. Metarov, what say you, my friend, on the concept?
Wow, I'm going last, and I'm glad I'm going last here, because you guys did great job hitting the concept points, and the reason I'd like to go last is because the concept here has such depth. This is Genome Set is a great concept. I'm going to up the ante. I think this is a brilliant concept. And I'll tell you why. You have to put everything in perspective. Miracle was talking about seduction of the innocent and all that. That's so true. But you have to realize the subtleties here and how they were portrayed in this one issue really up the ante to, you know, a brilliant, a genius level concept. When you consider, right, that you couldn't use monsters, right, zombies, werewolves, vampires, and they didn't use one here. Now remember, notice if you read this issue, they don't talk about any supernatural elements with this particular vampire. Okay, because this issue was trying to push the envelope to see how much they could do, because there was the comics code doesn't have, you know, like a statute level description. It has sort of basis for things that are excluded, right? But how extreme those can be, there's a lot of gray area in there, right? And this actually, when you consider that a few months before, they went without the comics code because it was drug related, right? And Harry was cocaine or heroin, I forgot which one it was. And that was taboo because in the comic code it says you cannot have drug references. So they went ahead and just did it without the comics code. But they didn't want to keep doing that because they thought it may ostracize parents, right? So they trying to find out how they can push that envelope a little bit further. Remember, in the comic game here, it was them against DC, and they were always ahead of the game when it came to pushing the envelope. And in here, the subtleties, the Easter eggs, the pop culture references are absolutely brilliant. The character is very torn, is very tortured, is very, you know, relatable, you know. And Spider-Man, again, like I think it was Miracle. I think you said there, science here went wild, not supernatural. Okay, it was science-based because, again, you can say you're a vampire, but it can't be based on, the transformation into a bat. That would be too obvious, or turning into a mist or something. He couldn't do that. And they didn't want him to do that because they wanted to make sure that this issue came out, because they wanted to see how what inroads they could make, so that a couple years later, a year or so later, came Dracula, and then Werewolf, and then Frankenstein, and then Mummy, and on and on and on. Okay? So the fact that they put it in a Spider-Man comic is inconsequential almost to the fact that the concept here was front and center in this comic book, way above any of the other elements, in my opinion. Because you are essentially testing the comic code so that you could create a whole new story genre beyond superheroes, and they had some westerns and war and so forth, because DC was doing the drug issue stuff with Green Lantern, which we already went on to, and that was passé at this point. But monsters is what kids wanted to see. Drugs, it's not visually that appealing. But monsters, that's stuff that you remember from the Universal pictures, from Creature Features on Saturday morning. That sold comics. That interested people. That's what they were doing in this comic. They were trying to get the kids interested in a whole new genre of horror, and this was the sort of like the toe inside the door. Not using supernatural elements, using scientific elements, but still having all kinds of Easter eggs. The Wuthering Heights type of home. The Kafka metamorphosis parallel with the 6 arms. The coffin where you see him like that. That's how Dracula would sit in his coffin. But notice there was no coffin. He was just up in that widow watch or belfry or whatever it was. Just brilliant little touches that push the envelope ever so subtly toward the point where it would open the door to a whole new concept of conceptual beings, which we consider universal monsters. This was the issue that started the opening the door to that very event. So this, my friend, you're right, Kenny. The arms really, it's silly, and it kind of threw off. They could have had other kinds of issues or psychological issues with Spider-Man that didn't have to have this portrayal. That's the only thing that keeps this from a 5, in my opinion. 4.5. Brilliant concept, and one that today we take for granted. But this opened the door to a whole new genre, which a lot of us love here on the community.
Wow. I'm just exhilarated after that review.
Roger, why didn't you sing out "It's a Whole New World"?
Top-notch stuff. I knew you guys would entertain me and inform me on, them integrating that Morbius into the scene. Well done, boys. Well done.
Likewise.
Chat, I'm going to ask you guys to grade this. Yeah. We chat amongst ourselves here. We're going to, probably speed round, go through the overall grade. And then, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to want to stick around so you can weigh in on what next episode's book is going to be. Roger's going to give you a couple choices. It's going to be tough. They're 2 good ones.
We're going to do a giveaway.
Oh, baby. Dude, if you're not hyped about Morbius at this point, after all these reviews and us analyzing him, how awesome he is, you're going to get an original sketch art piece by the one and only Mr. Miracle sent to your doorstep. Why? Just for hanging out and rewarding you for taking part in the Grader'S Notes chat experience.
Yeah, we'll do.
And trust me, we all have art for Miracle, and let me tell you, it is just amazing stuff. I mean, I can't even tell you how happy I am with the ghostwriter and the cover that he did. Oh man, that is so good. I have it right in my room. I look at it every day.
Oh, you go on.
Yeah, look at that very Godzilla.
The man can't grade a comic to save his life, but man, he can draw.
Look at our man coming in representing.
Yeah, Matt with those numbers. Yeah, I don't know.
Infinite number.
Something about Dave's art does draw me in. I don't know.
Draw me in.
There's something about
draws you in.
It personalizes it for me. It really brings it home.
Oh, that mark that. What part of the stream is this? 156. Mark that down. You're gonna watch that again.
Can I see that full screen one more time?
Oh, hold on. Wait. I'm not doing it in total justice. Let me get rid of the green screen. Give me 1 second. Bam.
Dude.
Pretty shiny. There you go.
I gotta look. Miracle has done some bangers, and he's incorporated community people into different books. The Biggie one is fantastic. Mine is awesome with the Wolverine, the Hulk cover. Metarog's classic. I gotta say, you've got my favorite, Dave. That is, it looks so much like you. It's so cool. The colors. Damn, that's good.
It's good. And notice the scudded clouds up here we talked about. Where was that, Gil? Where was that?
Yeah, Gil, that's how you do a moon.
It's even got a multicolored. Look at, there's a different tinge on the edge of the moon, by the way. If you might not notice that.
Great point.
I think David probably, I don't know, I like the Biggie one the best, I think, but David's pretty close. I nailed you on that little portrait.
You did.
Yeah, certainly did.
I even seem smug and condescending in it too, so it's perfect.
I got another one on deck here for someone else.
Oh.
Yeah, they don't know nobody's gonna know who's gonna get it yet. But
if you draw me as Wolverine, give him real big sideburns. I like the button chops. So.
All right. Should we do my giveaway, or should we do the giveaway? Can I ask the question, or should we wait for the end?
Oh, we gotta do grades. What is your actual grade? Because I can't.
Let's get the concept. Let's get the chat's concept grade, and then if you want, before we do the overall, do you want to do the giveaway?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, reward those that stuck with us for the past 2 hours here.
Yeah. And always a warm welcome to new additions into the chat. Newbie Comics. What up, man? Thanks for
Newbie.
All right, Matt, you got 4 seconds. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to give it a 5 from the score you gave us. So
Matt's just trying to make things difficult for us. He doesn't.
I know.
Just straightforward. I tell you, these people love their algorithms and fractions and.
All right, it's gonna be a 5. It's gonna be a 5.
Really? A 5 aggregate?
Well, no, that's what Matt gave it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was just like, whoa.
It's like, hold up.
I don't think we ever had a chat 5 before.
No, I don't think we ever got a chat 5.
Okay.
And I've been. Go ahead.
Chat coming with a 4.9375.
What?
9?
375.
I can redo this again, but that's what the calc's telling me. Let me try it one more time. Make sure I got it right. Or if someone want to read them off to me, it's kind of well blown past me here.
All right, here we go.
Hold on 1
4.
second. Wait.
Oh, okay.
I'm even refreshing my calculator. We're gonna make sure this is right.
All right. That seems a little high to
Ready?
me. Okay.
4.
4.
Mhm.
4.5.
Mhm.
5. 4. 4.5. 4. 4.5. And a 4. Oh, and then Matt's 5. And Matt's 5. Add a 5 in there. Yeah.
Okay, it's 39.5. Let's see what we got here. 1, 2, 3.
Live math.
And divide by 8. 4.9375.
Boom.
So, I mean, Microsoft calculator.
It's a chat
You're wrong.
5, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Can you believe it?
First ones I've ever seen.
Oh,
All right.
Well, I mean, the low score, and there was a 4, so it doesn't seem too surprising. There was no 3s or anything to throw it off.
Nope.
Chat 5, baby. Historic. Wow. And speaking of historic, the very first live sketch giveaway on Grader's Notes. I think Mr. Miracle is going to hit you guys with a brain buster to earn it, though. Is that right?
that's right. We're going to ask a question here about the show. Great. So if you've been watching, tell me, what was Metarog's score for the interior art? First person
Even
to
I
tell
don't
me
remember that one.
Wait, I got it.
I wrote it down.
Hold on. Oh,
Metarog score.
Okay, I remember now.
Interior art.
I have it written down on the other side of this pad. So if anybody is in dispute, right?
Oh, yeah. The Gray Man.
Gray Man got it. Yep.
Gray Man got it.
Bam. Oh, hold up. Bam.
oh, that doesn't count.
That's not
That's
counting.
3,
Comma.
comma 5. So yeah,
No, that's
penmanship counts, Gray.
That's the
Punctuation
metric.
doesn't count.
It's the metric system, dude. Give him a break.
He's on the reality system, the metric system.
And that's
System.
and you know what? That is appropriate because he is an alumnus, and we all got stuff from Miracle.
That's true.
Fabulous stuff. So that is apropos, I believe.
So, Gray Man, if you could go on Instagram and DM me your address, a mailing address for you, and I will work on that and get it out to you ASAP, brother.
Groovy. Congratulations, Graham.
Fantastic.
Maybe we can have Gray Man here in a couple of weeks show it off.
Well, yeah, if he likes.
That's true.
I mean, well, or whenever he gets it, if you don't get it.
Yeah.
a couple of weeks.
Believe me, he'll show it. It'll be sandwiched in between the other 10 videos he does every day.
Yeah. And like I said, it's me. I'll throw in more than that. You know that.
See you, Matt. Have a good dinner. Hey, Dave, what was your score, by the way, on Concept?
On Concept, it was 4.
4, okay.
Yeah. And then I did this during the show.
Ooh.
Morbius.
Yeah.
But, I love the Spidey up
Mhm.
there.
Yeah.
He's missing 5 arms, though.
Oh, let me
Spidey
pull
doesn't
screen
look right.
real quick.
Well, they're dangling up.
Starting to put it back
That's
down
nice.
in there, but you run out of time.
You know what I'm
That's
saying?
nice.
That's
That's so nice.
So,
Man,
I like the TV antennas in the background. That's a nice touch.
Yeah,
by the way.
that's cool. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the 70s.
Mhm.
that was analog back then, guys. Only analog.
Yeah, analogs.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll work on the sketch cover. I'll do something pretty nice for them, or at least I'll try. Gotta remember, I'm just the amateur. This is just a hobby.
Yep. All good. All right. Time for lightning round overall reviews. You've heard us go in depth on each of the categories, and now we're just going to see how they come together. Quick, summary, and what we grade the book. What's the sum of the parts here? What's the sum of the parts? So we'll kick it off this way. I'm going to kick it right back over to Metarog, and let you just keep on that. You're on a roll, so keep the roll going. What do you think overall, man?
Well, I'm gonna go. I think if I flush everything out together, it comes out to about a 4, and I think I'm gonna go with that because honestly, there's no weak points in this comic. There's probably stylistic issues. The 6 arms is a little silly, but honestly, when I think more and more about it, and how the pop culture references and the literary references, if you're a Kafka fan, and I am, and you see that, it brings back that guy who turns into an insect, right? So I'm kind of almost wanting to bump it up higher, just because I think there was so much thought into a comic book, right? That sometimes we read it and we don't see the nuances in it. But I think this one, when you encapsulate it, was really a special project that Gil Kane created the character, and Roy Thomas sort of were at the right team at the right time with the right concept. So I got to give this a 4. And if it wasn't for the silliness of those arms, the way they were portrayed, I don't care about. I think that the turning into an insect is a good dynamic, but just the way it was portrayed was a little weak. It would be a 4.5, but as it is, 4.
Cool.
Very nice. Strong grade. Gino, what do you think, man?
What to say? Well, I tried to be very objective with this book, and I think I did a pretty good job of that, right? Because everyone knows my general disdain of Spider-Man, but blasphemy it is. I'll just give you a quick rundown, and I actually let math decide it this time, and I think math was correct. For the cover, I gave it a 4. I think it's a great action cover. I think it's has good anatomy. It has good perspective. I just still love the slanted angles. That's my favorite part about the art of this book, is like just the movie, like the psychological thriller movie reference, like of panel layout and everything. So I think a really good cover, and it made the new guy interesting and a threat to Spider-Man, and Spider-Man looks weird. So 4. For interior art, I gave it a 4.5. I freaking love this. Now, I don't want to go into this too long. I've enjoyed Gil Kane in the past, but I've never actually looked at a book like this book of his that this close, like with a grading in mind, and I'm just wowed. I can't believe like how good this guy really was. I know he was a workman and he was fast and all that, and he'd been in that game a long time. It's just like it's almost like an unconscious arrogance. He was so good at this. So kind of like a Buscema or something like that. Just amazing. Lots of little nuances, but 4.5. I love the art inside. For story, I gave it a 4.5 as well. I like the whole psychological aspect of Spider-Man on his back heel for a change. His snarkiness was covering up his cracking upness, and basically in this book, which I kind of dug. It's a good way to introduce a new villain, and they did it in a very nostalgic way with the whole ship and all that, and the whole Dracul kind of thing. But he was his own guy. Like he even laughed at the idea of him being a vampire. He's like, I am just a vampire. Is that what I am? Cool. And it looks like there's some duality to the character too. So very cool. 4.5. I liked it a lot. Word bubbles notwithstanding. Concept, I gave it a 4. I think it's a really good idea. Of course, Dave and Roger went into much better detail than I do because I don't know it that well about why this is really an important book. But just as a standalone comic book itself, I think it was a really good one. It's a good concept. New good villain with some nuance to him. Spider-Man in a really wacky predicament, and the handing over of the torch to somebody new. So 4 on that. Overall, math came out to 4.25. Up to a 4.5, and I think this book deserves a 4.5. It's a great read. I was very pleasantly surprised. I was a little bit worried about the time it was written and the character itself, and all my fears were allayed. This is a great read, and this is what comics are all about. So 4.5.
Excellent.
Nice.
Well said, Gino. Well said. Good summary. Miracle. What do you think of the thing as a sum of the parts, brother?
You know, like everybody else here, I kind of gushed a little bit about all the stuff. Cover was good. Interior was great. The fact that they're like, to me, actually, like all the little pop culture and literal references was a bit much. It was a little bit of, you know, Gil trying a little hard on that one, I thought. But right, overall, the concept of this book, like bringing in your own vampire, and the story of this book, it seemed to flow well. I mean, there was that little hiccup, and you know, everybody's down about the six arms, but that was a Stan Lee story, right? That had started last issue with Stan Lee writing. So maybe it was a little bit of a, you know, F you guys, you're taking me off the book. Try and write something with six arms, you know what I mean? Like, so I can't blame them all on that. I think they did a good job for the weirdness of the story. And would I recommend this book to someone? I always do that with my overall. Would I recommend it? Yes, I would say this is well worth the read, along with 102. Definitely, you know, take a read of it before the movie comes out, see if it's going to match up to the whole movie concept. But yeah, overall, I gave it a 4 and would definitely recommend it.
All right. And you know myself, I am one of those guys that Miracle referred to of what's up with these six arms? I'm not liking these six arms. I'm in that camp. Of the 4 grades, this book got 2 4s from me, and it got 2 3s from me. The 4s were in the art department, man. This cover is a classic. So much going for it. Awesome, dynamic, high-end stuff. Gil Kane's interior art. Aside from, you know, some nitpicks here and there, this is high-caliber stuff. Professional. Just a seasoned comic pro is what popped into my mind as I started reading it and seeing what he was doing. And sure enough, I had looked it up earlier. 1941 was Gil's first comic gig inking, so that sounds about right. This guy was a true veteran by the time he got to this book, and it shows. The things that got 3s from me, that story, you know, there's 2 main components, and they're represented right here on the cover. Morbius and Forearm Spider-Man. The Morbius stuff is fantastic. I love the way he's introduced. I pretty much love everything about it. And then the Forearm Spidey is a real detraction for me. It's not visually appealing. It doesn't really doesn't do much other than make him kind of fret about it, which leads to a lot of yapping to himself, which, you know, it took me out a little bit. So the 6-arm stuff, I wasn't as enthralled with, and I represented that on the concept grade 2. Introduction of Morbius, awesome. 6-arm Spidey, which is a big part of the book. Not so much. So, but still, awesome book. Loved it. And I'm going to land on the overall in between those 2 anchors that I have, the 2 4s, the 2 3s, 3.5. Bang.
Nice.
Super sweet.
All right. Now, we've come towards the tail end of the program. And we have on the agenda left roundtable of what my compatriots have upcoming on their program. But first, setting the agenda for next episode. And this week was my pick. We landed on the ASM 101.
Mm-hmm.
Next week, next episode, Mr. Metarog is putting forth 2 choices. I'm going to go ahead and full screen my friend Metarog here.
All right.
And let's see what he's got.
What was the chat overall grade? Did you guys say that?
Oh, good.
Overall for chat is a 4.5. So excellent taste, chat, by the way.
Wow.
Wow.
Nice job, chat. Right. Well, not of course, Gino would say that was his grade, of course. Yeah, good job, guys. Okay, so 2 weeks from today, we're going to be going back to my channel. And I picked out 2 very different comics for 2 very different reasons. Everybody knows if you've seen my channel, that I like the quirky stuff, you know. And amongst those are what I call public awareness comics. Okay, and these are comics that are not in continuity, but were done for specific reasons to get through to kids, mostly at this, you know, in the 70s and 80s here. So I picked a Keebler Company issue with the new Teen Titans, drawn by George Perez, and the president's drug awareness campaign. All right. So this is an issue which, again, is not in continuity, but it was distributed to schools and boys and girls clubs, things like that, because at this time in the 80s, there was a big problem with illicit drugs and killing a lot of kids. And of course, having them, you know, run away from home and things like that. So that's one. And this was during the George Bush era, I think. So anyway, so that's one. The next one, yep, Nancy Reagan. That's right. I'm sorry, not Bush, Reagan.
She would just say yes to this comment.
That's right. The next one is, to me, a very different type of concept altogether, but one that, again, you know, Marvel like to really try new things. They push the envelopes. So of comics, and here, you know, this was in, I think, the mid '80s. It's called The Nam, and it essentially portrays what was going on in a very unpopular war in American history, and how Marvel portrays this is kind of a finicky line that they have to walk, right? To not glorify it, but and still be, you know, publishable and still be entertaining. So I think that this is kind of a different type of comic from most any that was out at this time, as far as how politically and socially you know, how it was kind of not popular to be associated with this police action at the time, right? So have your pick: drug awareness, public awareness issue, or very, very perhaps controversial, very different type of comic for Marvel in the 80s. They're both from the 80s, I do believe. This is from the early 80s. This is from the mid 80s. Wow. Decide, chat. Let me check. I think it's 1981.
Great choice.
81. That might be Jimmy Carter even. Let's see.
No, 83. I'm sorry.
Okay.
83.
That's Ronald Reagan. Yeah.
Wow. Cool. I feel like those are a pair of books that we're gonna be able to really like sink our teeth into. You know, some meat to them. So,
and they're not expensive. Not at all.
I actually have that Teen Titans book somehow. I think it's down in my box somewhere, but
all right.
Don't remember when I picked it up because I never collected DC, but I got it somewhere in a lot or something.
I've never even seen it before, so I'm sure it wasn't distributed in Canada.
Probably not. Yeah, probably not.
Because all those marijuana farms, they want to hurt business.
That's right.
Oh, hey, shout out to my man, James Howard, who is now sporting a sharp profile picture. Very nice. I always try to encourage folks when I see the stock thing I'm always curious what they come up with, and awesome. James T. Kirk. Good to see you, James.
Tiberius himself.
So it looks to me like Titans is winning. Let's give him another 30 seconds and
let's see what we got. Titans.
3, 4, 5, 6.
So we got 7 Titans so far.
Yeah.
It's shellacking the Nam. Yeah. Or the Nam, depending on who you talk to.
The Nam or the Nom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, doesn't this like just scream to you like what's that movie with Apocalypse Now?
Oh, yeah. One of the worst like productions in history, by the way. It's legendary.
Yeah.
Because what was it?
Brando didn't help it.
No,
I love the smell
Martin Sheen
of
had a
napalm in the
breakdown.
morning.
Yeah. Robert Duvall's the one looked like he had a good time in that movie, but everybody else was miserable as hell.
Man, was he over the top on that? Holy smokes! Okay,
All right, Teen Titans.
looks good.
The Keebler
Platoon.
What's the actual name of that so I can write it down in my book here?
Oh, it's
Teen Titans, what?
New Teen Titans. Keebler Company presents DC Comics, the New Teen Titans, and then down here it says the President's Drug Awareness Campaign. There are many different. There are actually quite a few different issues. Make sure that it has this cover. Because I have one with a blue cover and it has the protector on here, and I have one with like a peach cover. Make sure it's this one here.
Oh yeah. There's plenty on eBay for $1, $2, under $5. So
Yeah, I'm sure I can get one.
Oh, hey, kitty!
I wanted to read the nom too, Sleepy Read, but
my
it's nice to already have that.
So,
Yeah.
Genome, you don't have to worry about shipping on this one. You got it already there.
I
You
never
got
have
it
these
there.
books.
Yeah, so
Dear
if
Hunter,
you want
must be
yourself
another
a nice
Yeah.
9.6 graded one, you could even get one of those for $45.
I don't know why
Is
anybody
Matt
would
selling
bring
that one?
Yeah, the one graded on it.
I have no idea
Probably
why
the
you
only
would
one
bring
of the
this.
census.
To each his own, right? To each his own.
Awesome. Very exciting. All right. So thank you for tuning in to this edition of the Grader'S Notes. That episode of Grader'S Notes, as you know, we share duties on this. It's going to be on Metarog's channel. So 2 weeks from tonight, be sure to tune into Metarog's for the Teen Titans Keebler Drug Awareness Edition. As for this channel, thank you for tuning into this channel tonight. Tomorrow night, there's some festivities going down. It's been a while since your old pal Comic Head hosted an auction on his channel. I don't do them all the time. What's that guy say? The most interesting man. I don't always auction. But
when I do, I sell out.
Yeah. When I do, I try to bring you the quality stuff, and I bring guys like DS Comics, D-Runk Comics, and the Immortal Biggie Shaq with some lots of his own in that trademark color commentary. I think I'm going to be primed for some giveaways. I think I'm going to be in the giving mood tomorrow night too, and it's just going to be a grand old time. So that's programming info for this channel. Miracle. What's cooking over there, man? You got another Undervalued in the works for us?
Yeah, I've got one on deck. I just got to film it out, I guess. Haven't done it. And yeah, not a whole lot. Like I said, working on A-OK, going to send that out to somebody. There's somebody lucky out there will get it.
Can you give the viewers just a little hint as to, because there's always like a theme to your Undervalued videos, right? There's some Star Wars, some Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
General, you know what I'm saying? Direction you're going in?
Just, it's been so hard with the pandemic and everything being delayed and this and that. And it's,
That's true.
So it's tough. Like my videos have got to be a little bit all over the place a little more. I haven't been able to put together such solid themes. I'm trying to just catch up WandaVision kind of stuff. If there's anything that popping up there, we'll get another episode tonight, I guess, right? But
yeah, and if I may, the just like the theme of this very video with Morbius, it seems like there's like the Moon Knight Blade, maybe some horror Werewolf by Night stuff. I'd love to see if there's some insight there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I definitely should put in a little bit of Tomb of Dracula stuff would be good.
Yeah, some horror.
Anyways, I'll come up with something this week. We'll get it. We'll get another. I always roll.
I know you will, man. You never disappoint.
He always come through.
Yeah. So stay tuned to him there. Genome, you're going to teach us how to hotwire a car, cook a souffle, do a chest mat. What's up, man?
Oh, maybe all in the same video. If this snow ever melts, I'm teaching you how to clear snow out of your driveway. But that should be my first one. But yeah, a lot of stuff going on the channel. A lot of live streams going to come up. I'm doing Of course, tomorrow night is Friday Night Hangouts with Dave and Jay, so that'll be on at 8 p.m., 8:05 technically Eastern. So come on in and chat it up. I don't know the subject yet. I usually make it up right before the show, but so be there, be square. Saturday night, I'll be joined by the imitable Bill Miller, of course, Jay as well, and Epicurean Eye Relief, a.k.a. Alex. We're going to be doing The Good and the Bad, the Ugly live watch party. So we've already done Fistful of Dollars, a few dollars more. So natural progressions, Good, the Bad, the Ugly. So come watch the magnum opus of the spaghetti westerns tomorrow or Saturday night, starting at 8 p.m. as well. 7 or 8.
That's a long movie, dude.
That's a long movie.
Watch that whole thing.
It's like 3 hours. I might start that one at 7. I may start at 7, but it's Saturday night. So what else does anyone have to do? So either probably next Monday, I'm going to be doing the live watch party of the next in the Hammer Dracula films, which is Dracula's Risen from the Grave. So be there with a couple of horror guys. And of course, Jay again, he's in all the live streams. So Fallout live streams. I have tons of music reviews I need to do. I got tons of movie reviews I need to do. They're all sitting here waiting to get done. The gaming channel is still going strong. And it's funny you mentioned speculation. They just released, or they're getting ready to release Moon Knight in Marvel Strike Force, the mobile game, the huge mobile game. So her and White Tiger are getting released in the next couple of weeks. So I don't know who White Tiger is, but whatever. So maybe more speculation there. Who knows? So
Mr. Ayala. Puerto Rican.
Really?
Tiger, man. Look at your Spectacular Spider-Man number 8 for first comic book appearance.
Well, there you go. I never even knew who she was. So go figure.
Of course, his first appearance was in Deadly Hands of Kung Fu.
It's the female version.
That's not comic book, of course.
Believe me, this is a newfangled company. So right now it's the She Electro, it's the Woman Electro, it's Woman White Tiger. It's like if you can change the character, they do it. So, but yeah. So lots of cool stuff coming up the channel. Just reviews, and views, and the live streams aplenty. So stay tuned.
Sounds good, man. Mr. Metarog, you have a channel that's not to be missed as well. What's on the docket, brother?
Well, I'm kind of like the anti-genome channel. I just do one video a week, but I'm other people's live streams. That's true. But this Thursday I'm going to be out of town, but I've already taped the second part of my Atlas Seaboard collection, and I think it's pretty good. I think I really love it. You know, when it's like these obscure stuff. That's kind of like my comfort zone. If it's cold, you know, like I like these guys who do these hot videos and they get like all these views. I want to do like the coldest comics possible, you know? So, so I'm kind of like the anti Mr. Miracle, anti Genome, you know, but I just enjoy, you know, shining a light on these companies that had these blips on the radar, but when you dig deep, they really had a really important or groundbreaking, or some kind of groundbreaking dynamic about them. So check out my video on Thursday for that second part, and then of course every other Thursday, like today, was a roundup, and so check out the roundup in 2 weeks from today.
Nice,
awesome. All right, chat. You guys have been stellar for us tonight. This was a really fun edition, and boom, that's it. You've heard enough from us tonight. This has been Grader'S Notes. You have been gratified. Well, I'm workshopping that. We'll come up with a next. Had a great time, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Till next time.
Guys.
Bye.
Awesome.
Great
See you guys.
Ciao, baby.
Good night, all.